Yo, what up gamers? Today we're going to be taking a look at the gameplay of, forgive me if I'm butchering the name, Hankel, who was recently rank 1 2200 LP on the Chinese Superserver as an Ezreal main. So as we get into lane here, he's got a bit of a disadvantage already in the push because he's been leashing, whereas the enemy bot lane hasn't. But already starting off with the Q to try and match the push, so not going to be able to push them, not going to be able to outpush them anyway, and at the moment just going to be looking more to punish any aggression on their part. So nice Q on the Samira there while he's focusing Rel as Rel has gone in. But he knows the priority target is more than anything Samira, so he's aiming the Qs at Samira while she's in range. Does only start switching focus to the Rel once killing her becomes actually a possibility. But I'm making sure not to fully commit onto her because it's much more valuable to get damage onto the Samira. Once again, focusing Samira there when there's no chance to kill Rel. Starting off really good with a lot of damage put out. We'll see what we can do here. Unfortunately, that gank is going to be forcing him to flash into death to get that kill. That's pretty unfortunate because I think if not for that gank, that probably would have just been a 1-for-1. And maybe even he could have killed Samira after too because his Q has a lower cooldown than hers. He had a fully stacked Conqueror. He could have put out a lot of damage there. But anyway, going to be able to get that tier thanks to the first blood. Worth noting too that he chose to go for the 1-for-1 instead of just backing off without having to use flash for it. So he seems to think that's worth it. Not gonna miss all of this farm here at least. Gonna miss some less hits, but at least gonna get some of the XP. Which is very nice, so he's gonna be level 3, no sorry, level 2 now. So unfortunately still behind the XP to Samira and Rel who are already level 2 at the start of the previous play. So he's just going to focus on building up a slow push here. So what you want to do in this situation, you don't want to start shoving because you're not going to deny farm. So what you want to do is you want to amass a big wave here. And the enemies, especially an engaged bot lane like this, is not going to be able to fight you. Or if they want to try and engage on you, it's going to be a lot more risky trying to do it into this wave. So we'll see what we can do here with the big wave. Unfortunately, Soraka is going to die really fast again. So Hankel just gonna focus on trying to put out as much damage as he can. It's not a great trade, but because the mini wave is there, okay, it's actually turning out even better now. Yeah, considering at the start of that they were both full HP. Oh, okay. Big ready from Samira, I think. Will he be able to survive this dive? No, he will not. Will Rel at least die? Yes, she will. Okay, well, considering that started off with Soraka just being a free kill, that turned out pretty well. Turning that into a 1-for-2 trade. Or, well, 2-for-2 trade. So actually now sitting at 3-2, which is not bad considering the lane so far has been a little bit of a disaster. Like, Soraka just got caught too hard there. But thanks to the mini wave, thanks to the slow push, he at least has enough damage from the minions to actually have the possibility of doing something later on. Obviously, it only happened because of Samira going so aggressive, but she was only low enough to even die there just because of all the damage she took from the minions, so. So able to grab the Sheen thanks to that, and that's going to be a lot more damage in lane, both in poke and in terms of DPS. Now, one thing that amazes me about this guy is just his awareness of like who to Q while he's focusing another target. Like we saw him earlier just auto-attacking the Rel but Qing the Samira. Like before as he's walking up to Rel, he's just Qing Samira. I already took a glimpse of this replay as I was recording it. And he just does it constantly. Like he's focusing one person but Qing another. Like he'll Q the most valuable target, but if he can't, but you know, if he's not in range to auto-attack them, he'll just settle at Qs and just focus somebody else with the autos. It's really crazy. Like, just there, like, Rel is right next to him. But he's focused on the Samira because she's more valuable to hit. Like, it's really crazy and inspiring. Like, anybody can do that, really. You just need to be more aware of who's more valuable to Q. And obviously, if they're not the most likely target for you to be focusing, they're not going to expect you to Q them and they're not going to be juking it. That's the great thing about it. He almost never misses when he does this because the enemies are just not expecting to have to dodge at all. Okay, gonna have to back off here, expecting a dive. Okay, the enemies are a little bit low though. It would be really risky of them to actually go for this. In fact, he's just gonna aggressively E forwards. I think if Rel were to dive there, she would probably die, and I think she realizes that, so she's not even gonna go for the dive. So able to put out a lot of poke there. So I hope you're noticing that whenever things go badly, like he's pretty much just always doing damage. So whenever Soraka gets caught, he's immediately auto-attacking, immediately queuing. He's putting out so much damage because he just does not hesitate to put out damage. One thing you gotta realize as an ADC is that you basically do less damage the longer you take to actually start dealing damage. Your champion will literally just deal more damage if you spend less time indecisive and thinking whether you can actually go in or whether you can auto-attack or not. He's just putting out so much damage at the moment. This time it didn't result in a kill, but it's part of the reason why he's 3-2, despite the lane being a bit of a disaster. He's just so efficient in where he chooses to deal damage and how quickly he decides to do it. Especially his decision making with the Q is just really insane. Obviously his aim is also really, really good. It's actually crazy how much this guy just doesn't miss. I think he's only had 2 proper misses so far that I've noticed. Okay, gonna head over for an Ezreal ult on the top side, see if that picks up anything. It's looking like probably not, the enemies are backing off. No, I didn't get any Conqueror stack, so I didn't hit anybody there. Worth a shot though, maybe, although now he's not gonna have that ultimate available for the 2v2, so it might bite him in the ass. Okay, right, wow, we're all going for a dive there. Gonna be hard to survive that, not gonna be able to. At least he does take down the Rel and the kill goes over to him rather than Soraka, so that's not too bad. Samira going for the Grump. Would have been really good if she could actually take that. With no ultimate though, Lilia's not going to be able to punish Samira, so... Or is she? No, she's just going to back off. But anyway, at this point, we're pretty close to the Divine Sunderer for the Ezreal. Unfortunately, Samira might just enter lane with a shield bow here, we'll see. Although wait, no, actually, does she have a Nooncrypt? Or sorry, Serrated Dark there? Maybe not then. So he's just angling the Qs right now, where if Samira's dumb enough, she's actually going to walk into them. But if she doesn't, he's still going to be just poking down the minions and setting them up to be lost hittable. It's always nice when you can do that, if you can go for both lost hits and poke at the same time, depending on how the enemy reacts. Okay, so he's just kind of baited out the Samira W. She won't have that now. Let's see. He's able to get 1 kill on the Rel. Will he survive Samira? He does. Kill goes over to Soraka though. Which is a shame because it was a big shutdown, but still going to be really good for them. And that definitely only happened because he actually baited out the W. I think that was actually very smart of him. At first I just thought, oh, well, that was a waste. But then I realized that, of course, they would just probably want to dive again. Yeah, he's actually talking about it right now as well, and you can see in the subtitles. Very smart. That just completely turned that around. With how close that was, if Samir could ult sooner, he was dead or lost sooner. If she could block some damage with the W, there's 0 chance he was getting any kills back. But she couldn't really afford to not W it either, because it was going to hit her, and that massive chunk would not be good for the dive either. Potentially, actually would have worked out better for her maybe if she didn't use the W and did get chunked out by the ultimate, but it's, you know, it's a tough call to make. And it might not have made a difference. think realistically the best thing to do would have been to just call off the dive for then. Or, sorry, for now. So I guess that was his attempt at trying to do it again. But at this point, she's already chunked out so heavily there. They're not even going to bother trying to go for another dive, especially because the previous one didn't go so well for them. Okay, taking this chance to clear out that pink ward. And actually going to start shoving out the wave as fast as he can. So he's already got the Divine Sunderer. He pretty much always goes Divine Sunderer from what I can tell, by the way. So notice that he's not just spamming the Qs on the champions either. Like when there's minions around and there's minions to push, that like he'll mostly just focus the minions unless he detects an opportunity for his Q to pretty much not be dodgeable at all. Or when he suspects he just won't be able to miss. Otherwise he's mainly just queuing minions. He'll only go for champions if it's gonna hit a minion if it misses. Because you want to keep that passive stacked. You want to have the Q on the least cooldown possible, which means hitting a target, any target. So here he can actually aim for the champions because it's really likely to hit. So I'm gonna have to flash there. Okay, forcing the Samira W again could be big. Well, it does get her killed. If she'd been able to use the W on his autos and cube, she probably would not have even died there. But he and Soraka will still die there, unfortunately. It's a shame because if the level, like if the early levels had not been influenced so heavily by that one jungle gank, I think it was from Nidalee. Yeah, from Nidalee. This lane would probably be looking a lot differently. Samira's just been very snowballed since then. But it is meant to be a pretty rough matchup anyway, just because the Soraka is so... The Soraka in particular is just so vulnerable to a bot lane like this. It'll just one-shot you out of nowhere, even under turret. Yeah, so Samira already has the shield bow as well. Going to collect her soon too. Might even have it by the time she gets into lane. Okay, putting out some decent damage against the Rel there. So he knows he's pretty safe while he's doing this. Gonna start hitting the control ward, but as they walk towards him, just gonna have to back off. So yeah, once again, now that Samira is actually actively trading against him, he knows she's not really gonna be able to dodge. Now is when he goes for the Qs against her. And just making sure she doesn't get the free hit, the turret doesn't get the free hit him. Going aggressive on her while she is like aggressively positioned on her own. So he pretty much just always seems to ult Samira whenever they get the push and whenever they would want to dive. He doesn't want to let Samira have W for a dive up. That Malphite maybe able to do some work there. Gonna maybe try and dive him now, so he's gonna be focusing on poking them down as hard as he can. Now wants to back off before they get minions. Okay, wow, that's gonna be a pretty easy kill into Malphite. And the enemies are too low to just keep chasing him here. I wonder if he'll go for the kills as well. No, it seems like we'll just play it safe. Try and get the auction kill if he were to kill Kiana, but looks like she's gonna be fine. So currently also having picked up the Ionians before the Mana Moon, so he really values that CDR. Just currently checking the brush as well to see if there's anybody there using his W. There we go, just stacking his tier. Nice one. And do note as well that he starts with the Doran's Blade because he wants to be, you know, dealing as much damage as possible in the early levels. Although it's nice to be able to stack the tier from level 1. He's not actually too mana hungry early levels. As long as you use your mana responsibly, so. He just wants to try and use that Doran's Blade to snowball, or at least minimize the enemy snowball. Oh. Okay, so we're not going to be able to go in there. And just hitting the roll with the ultimate there while she's too slow to be able to dodge. Just take her out as fast as possible. Nicely played. So currently 8-4 despite, you know, like I said, the early game being a bit of a disaster. Playing on the back foot pretty much the entire time since the Italy gank. It's an impressive way to pull it back. And it's all off of the back that he just does not stop dealing damage at any point. As soon as he can deal damage, he is already on it. 5 seconds beforehand. Some nice poke onto the Rel and the Akshan. Probably wouldn't have go for that if that was a Samira instead, because she would just be able to W it, and it's not really a useful time to take off the Samira W. It's when he predicts that the enemies are probably going to be going aggressive that he wants to take that off. So just very accurate with the Qs there, as you can see. That's what I'm talking about. Just immediately, like, even though he's going on the Malphite, just immediately switches aggro onto the Akshan with the Qs. Because Akshan is the more valuable target. It's just incredible how quickly you can just switch focus, or like split focus with one. Ooh, nice one. Yeah, one target tanking all of his autos and one target just tanking all of his Qs, depending on who the most valuable person is to focus, but like doing what he can with the range of the autos compared to the range of the Qs. So now 11-4. Really impressive recovery from the early game. So I'm pretty sure he just E'd there before the Q landed, so he wanted to gain some distance away from Nidalee rather than let her get close to him. And because he E'd before the Q landed, he actually got a lower cooldown E there. It's a very neat trick if you know you're going to be, if you want to poke but you also need to escape, you can just throw out the Q, then E before the Q lands. You'll get your in a slightly lower cooldown in case you need that up again sooner later on. Better to do that than E and then only be able to Q once the enemy gets back into your range, if they ever do. You can just do that if you know that by casting a Q you're not going to be able to get hit still. So you wouldn't want to do that, for example, if the Q is going to get you auto-attacked and you can't afford to take an auto-attack. So you see that, just auto-attacking a minion but Qing Rel. He's just so good at multitasking that. Like, he doesn't stop last hitting while he's poking either. Like, usually if I saw somebody do that, I would just think they're scripting. I would think like, wow, he is clearly just focused on the minions and the script is queuing for him. But no, this guy's just actually inhuman. Okay, nice, gonna be able to force the Samira W there. If they can force a fight now, that would be really worth it. That's why he's going aggressive, trying to see if he can bait the enemies maybe to engaging on him. And then his team can just counter engage. Anyway, now that he's finished his items, just going to point out, going for the Last Whisper, going for the Serylda's Grudge. Makes sense because they got a Malphite. He's going to be building a lot of armor. Rel is pretty tanky as well. so many Q hits. Okay, not gonna be able to hit that one, but yeah, dealt a lot of damage in the fight. I mean, the way this guy plays Ezreal, you would think he just makes the pick look like the strongest early game ADC, the strongest mid game ADC, the strongest late game ADC. It's just crazy, man. Because even though he may have lost lane, I can assure you he was definitely dealing way more damage in lane than Samira was. Just unfortunately, the support matchup made the lane phase a bit rough. Along with an Italy gank, of course. And we're going to be able to back now for the Isolde's Grudge. Oh, the key miss. So he is human. Barely. How are those Qs not hitting that caster though? There we go. So just not much happening on the map right now. Just currently waiting for something to happen. Okay, the enemy team seems to be grouped on bot lane right now for some reason. So his team is gonna head over to the Baron. So if they can maybe start something there. So at the moment, just removed vision. Okay, not gonna be able to get any picks though, and not gonna be able to start the Baron since they didn't get much warning about the enemy team showing up, but they didn't head over to Baron in time. However, okay, Akshan bot again, so once again they'll move over to the Baron. Now I'm maybe gonna start just sneaking it. Yeah, it seems like they're trying to avoid the vision at least. But nah, Italy is too close around. They don't want to risk the steal, I don't think. Now also heading for the glacial thingy that builds into Frozen Heart. So at this point, just fancies himself some survivability. I think he's dealing plenty of damage right now anyway. Look at that CDR. Whenever his Q lands, it's just immediately back up. Just punishing Samira heavily for going for that farm. Okay, nicely played. So honestly, I think the Malphite probably needed Flash more than Ezreal does. Ezreal is going to be really safe in fights with or without Flash. He just needs a Z. Pretty much the only need I think Ezreal has for Flash in this game is just for flashing the Malphite Flash ult. Okay, gonna start sneaking the Baron. Or maybe just getting his passive stacked up. Already lost those stacks though. Nice. Maybe now gonna be able to finally get the Baron. So now 14, 4, and 7. Just absolutely crazy with the way that lane started. Just not gonna even bother with the honeyfruit there. Just gonna head over for the wave, and the minion just moves away from his Q. Always hate it when that happens. One nice thing about not going for one of the lethality builds, by the way, is not having to build Essence Reaver and not having that 20% crit chance, which just so constantly messes up your last hits. I hate that about Essence Reaver. You can always expect consistent, reliable damage. That's completely in your control. Gonna be able to finish off that Frozen Heart. I'm gonna sell his Doran's Blade for stopwatch. That's something I don't do enough, but it's actually very, very strong. The stopwatch can massively beat in fights. It's especially useful when combined with flash. If he has flash up and he just stopwatches in a fight, the enemies might like try and walk up to him so they can try and finish him off or try and CC him immediately as soon as he spawns. But if you just flash out immediately, it's just such a good way of baiting people because they can't really land stuff on you if you're just going to immediately flash if you time it right. Can maybe do a similar thing with Z. Could definitely buy time for a Z. Ooh, that was an aggressive stopwatch. Or, sorry, aggressive blast cone. But the Qs just don't miss, man. It's just unreal. I don't know how anybody can be this precise. And that will presumably be the end of the game. So that's Hankul, however you say it, sorry. Ezreal, possibly the best Ezreal in the world. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this in the future, guys. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Later, gamers.